Good evening. This is the November meeting of the Chicago Computer Society Linux SIG group. I'm curious for tonight about what we're going to do for December. Uh, as it stands right now, uh, I don't even know if I'll be in town, but most likely I will. Uh, but our meeting normally would be on December 26th, the day after Christmas. So the question becomes, do we skip December or try and uh, do the meeting anyhow? Well, don't everybody speak up at once.
Well, we have in the past skipped December meetings.
Yes, but I mean, I don't think it was like the day right after Christmas. Uh, so that's why I'm asking the group about this one.
While I could make a meeting on that day, I doubt very much that very many people would be interested.
That's what I'm getting at. Between the day before, right after Christmas, and how many would be interested in having a meeting, I don't know. That's
I think
what.
the day right after Christmas, rest and recuperate a little bit.
Why? What are you going to be doing that you need to rest and recuperate?
All the festivities.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I need to hear from you guys as to whether we have one in December or not. I can cancel it. I'm not sure even if I'm going to do the South Suburban one, which I think is on the 21st. Earl?
I think we could skip that. That is a day of somewhat recuperation. There's no use pushing it. January will be along soon enough.
Well, I mean, if we don't have the one in December, which is plausible, uh, you're talking January 23rd for the next one.
Okay.
So what's going to happen to Linux between those two dates that makes it critical to have a meeting?
That I know. So it sounds like we got two that say skip it.
I'm either way.
Okay, you're either way, and
I'm not planning on surfing Christmas or the day after Christmas.
Well, Earl.
I mean, I'll try to join, but
Yeah, but right now that would make three of us.
yeah, it is pretty dull time of year. Even in the Linux world, there's constant updates and all of that, but those taper off and are almost non-existent during the immediate holiday season.
Yeah, I would say at the moment we'll probably well, Ed Keating's Northwest, he never has a December meeting. We've
Right.
had the Linux meeting in the past, but it wasn't this close to Christmas. And I think at the moment we might as well skip it. And I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do about South Suburban on the 21st.
Okay. Well, then we'll get further updates on South Suburban, and it looks like Linux is not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that's super hot anyhow, Nat. Uh, I'm trying to get Bob Baxter to do at least a brief presentation, but I haven't heard back from him yet for this group. Anyway, all right. Did anybody buy anything new over the Black Friday, Cyber Monday stuff?
Should we announce, this is actually a Windows thing mostly, but should we announce about Macrim Reflect up until I think it's midnight tonight? I don't know what time zone.
Well,
You can get their Black Friday deal on Macrim Reflect backup.
I mentioned that to Peter. I didn't do Jeff because Jeff wasn't here.
Well, now we all know.
Yeah, we sent out an announcement from BobNet about the deal. It's got the address to go to at the top of the message. You can do it for one machine or 4 machines. You can either buy a 1 year subscription with 6 months edition free, or you can do a one-time purchase, which has some limitations that Bob can address. But generally, it's a pretty good deal. And for the 1 year plus 6 months for 4 machines, you're talking $50.
Yeah, it's $49 that I paid for 4 licenses.
Yeah.
And these are the same licenses you would get for for a single license subscription. They don't cut any corners on anything. In fact, I think with the subscription you get more support
Yes.
time than with the outright purchase. And the outright purchase is for version 8. It might not continue to version 9 whenever they come out with that.
All right.
So you
Anybody got anything else to question about the Macro Reflect deal? Bob ought to be able to answer most of that. Hearing nothing. Anybody else get anything over Black Friday to through Cyber Monday? Gee, I'm the only other one. I mean, I got Bob's deal. I got a few other odds and ends, but computer-wise, I got this: a Shots Skull headset, and that's the real item. And the bad part is it's good for a laptop because you have Bluetooth and just about any laptop. But I use my desktops heavily, and on my desktops that I use, I've only got one that's got Bluetooth right now. I've got to get some upgrades for being able to use this set with some of the other stuff. This goes over the ears. You can hear because there's no obstruction to your ears, and it has a built-in microphone, so you can be heard as well. One of the other, actually three other groups that I attend meetings with that has Huey Poplock. He has 3 of these things, and he said 1 year he got a $30 off coupon and had to pay still $150. I got a word from somebody attending the last Monday's Tech for Senior group, and they were mentioning Best Buy was selling it for $98. So that's what I got. And then around Black Friday, Walmart said, "Oh, we're selling the same thing for $90." So it's a pretty good deal because that's the steepest discounts on these. They're considered premium skull headsets, and to get that much off on them is very, very rare. But there's been a lot of deals, I think, going on, partly because there's a lot of worry about where the economy may be going. The overspending that's going on means a lot of people are going to have to really cut back on their spending the next 12 months, probably. And so it's a concern by all the stores and stuff to reduce inventory. And basically, after Christmas, they're all trying in that 30-day period, besides dealing with returns, uh, getting rid of as much inventory as possible, because otherwise they got to pay taxes on the existing inventory. So January can, for some things, can be very good because whatever is in excess out there, and that might get a steep discount just to get rid of it. Especially if they think the economy is really going to slow down. Well, that's the main thing I've got. I was the Macron Reflect deal and that headset. I've got plenty of work ahead of me, and not enough time. I'm still working on trying to get the tech tips and tricks video edited. I was probably halfway through it, and I had to save it, and it disappeared. Well, it didn't disappear. It must have either not completed or became corrupt. I don't know which, but I got to start over on that one.
Okay, but you still have the original.
Oh yeah, I have the original, but there was some editing that needed to be done to it. Uh,
There is a Linux thing. I Inkscape, which some people use. It's a vector graphics drawing program. For Linux and for Windows. Their latest release, 1.3.1, has a major bug in it, and they're telling people not to upgrade for Inkscape. Ubuntu came out with an upgrade that was 1.3.2. I don't know whether it fixed the issue, but it had to do with certain kinds of shapes not saving correctly. And so 1.3.0 is the one you're supposed to stick with for the time being.
Well, I'm learning Kdenlive, which started out on Linux and is cross-platform to Windows and Mac. And I'm primarily trying to do the editing on the Windows system and learn it at the same time because it's got some quirks I haven't seen before. But it looks quite capable. And I've gotten what I normally do have to do in editing, which is usually just snipping out stuff you don't want in there. But I've got additional one, and I was just starting to get to that, and something went wrong. But anyway, and then I just found out this afternoon, one of our former members, that I do computer work for him from time to time. That's been in the hospital and now physical therapy for a total of about 4 months now. And whenever he gets back home and there's the expectation I will have to come over and help him learn how to use his computer again, which I've had to do before from after hospitalizations. So we'll have to see how that goes. I've got these cats in that house I've got to mess with, along with whatever I'm doing on my computers, and I've got a drive update I got to do to one machine, and I'm probably wanting to do it on a second machine too. So I just don't have enough damn time. Outside of that, I have the presentation material for tonight, and I actually got kind of surprised about something, but there's an explanation, presumably. All right, where are we at? Well, I'll go with the safe route. Go there. Okay, it was in here. Okay. At any rate, I didn't want to choose the wrong one. Come on. Hang with me for a minute. I gotta. But that gives me a little of my real estate back. I've been learning how to get rid of that panel. Haven't quite mastered getting rid of the other one. Well, at any rate. All right. The first article, when I came across it, it was because of Ed Keating's Northwest Computer Club. And in the meetup time frame, we got to talking. He knows I'm doing the Linux group, etc. And he brought up the fact that, by the way, there's this maximum core thing in Linux kernel. And it seems to have exploded somewhat out on the internet from what I can see. But the thing is, the article basically points out a set of comments. Well, it's like that, and it means XYZ. And I'm wondering if there's more context to this, according to the first person here. It sounds pretty bad the way it is presented, but it is. But is it? I'm no kernel expert, but it might be entirely benign. And that's the thing, as you get into this a little bit deeper, what it turns out more likely to be is in this third one here. This is a misleading title. It should have been something more about how the multitasking time slicing doesn't increase after 8 cores. Basically speaking, to do multitasking, they take units of time and slice it up, and each core has one of those slices. But the algorithm that they're using, from what I understand, is the source of the problem. If you have more than 8 cores active, it doesn't seem to know how to do the time slicing correctly for each of the cores. In other words, it doesn't adjust. If you got 8 cores, you got probably no problem. or less. And if you've got, say, 12 cores, it still will probably work pretty well. It's just not absolutely optimized on the time slices for 12 cores. And of course, if you keep going up in the number of cores, you may not get the performance you actually should get because the algorithm is restricting the time slices to the equivalent of 8 cores. So it may be doing a round robin or something like that. If I had 24 cores, it might take 3 units of time going through one time slice for each of the 24 cores. Or it could just say that 8 of them have the majority of time and the others get a slice of time once in a great while. I don't know how it works. And they're not really explaining it that well. But it's a case where, based upon the original headline, it would sound like probably starting with the Ryzen, I think it's 3000 series on up, plus the Intel 13th and now 14th generation, where you might have so many cores, you might start having some kind of limitation, whether you're aware of it or not, on your performance due to this algorithm issue. And so far, maybe I missed it, but I don't see where there is anybody really going after this algorithm to get it corrected. But like this guy here is saying, recent AMD desktops have 32 threads, meaning multi hyperthreading on physical cores of 16. So you have a whole lot of potential performance, but you don't know what you're going to get. Bob?
Yeah, with regard to cores and performance and whatnot, I have a system monitoring gadget that I can put in as a right side sidebar. I seldom see more than 2 hyperthreads actually showing activity at any given time in any operating system. Sometimes as many as 4, but very seldom. If you're doing high performance gaming or if you're doing network tasks that have clusters of computers, maybe you'd run into an issue. But ordinary users are not going to notice a difference, not even in game performance. And so, again, the limit appears to have been deliberate. And there is a place in Linux where you can make an adjustment if you need it for a specialized purpose.
Well, right now, I don't get the impression it's a likely big deal myself. And generally speaking, uh, I'm pretty much in agreement that most people aren't going to notice it that much. You have to get into some very serious video editing and or creation of videos, big ones, not little ones, and things like that, where you're gonna maybe notice some degradation, but you're not gonna know it's degradation either, because unless you can see the real performance of all your cores at any given moment, how are you going to know whether you're getting some kind of limitation put on you due to this algorithm? and I have a second article here that talks about it too. And as far as this second person here is concerned, this article is clickbait, and in no way has the kernel been hard coded for a maximum of 8 cores. If you read the comment, you can see that the certain scaling factor for scheduling can scale linearly or logarithmically with the number of cores and for calculating the scaling factor. The number is capped at 8. This has nothing to do with the number of cores that can actually be used. So this one sounds pretty much on the mark, I think, myself, because I have a few systems with 6 cores with hyper-threading, which means it looks like 12 cores, and I can't tell that I have any kind of limitation on it. But how often do the majority of us, especially at home, really tax out our systems to begin with? If anything, you might have more of a limitation either due to the amount of memory you got or the performance of your storage, especially as you get past 70% full on a critical drive like in Windows Drive C, you would start seeing degradation in time. I don't think there's a similar degradation in Linux. At least I've never hit it yet myself. So it's almost kind of like a misleading, like he said, clickbait topic. Yeah, there might be something somewhat to what the headline is about, but as a whole, it sounds like it's a yawn to those who are into the development and maintenance of the Linux kernel, and that includes Linus Torvalds, the godfather of Linux. He's definitely got his hand in kernel development. So if this was a big concern, I'm sure he'd be working on trying to deal with this issue. So it was something that really popped out, and I thought I'd bring it up at the meeting here tonight just to air it out a little bit in case some of you came across the same thing. The next thing I have up here is in some cases, and this is more of a server environment, but it can be on a home system where there are multiple people within a home trying to work on the system. They may set up a regular computer with a Linux on it, as an example, and it may be a powerful computer, and they may have multiple people on other devices log in, possibly through SSH. And this is how to restrict how many CPU cores each user can use. And that's so that no one person, regardless of what they are trying to do on the computer, is sucking up all the power and resources of that central machine. So it may not be set up as a real server, but even Windows is based on server software, and you can have multiple users by remoting into one computer. But you would not use this on most consumer grade computers because most of them are on the low end. And this would be more like gamers to some extent. And for people who are in a house with several people wanting to use the main computer's horsepower for doing things, and they may be using some cheap terminal, Chrome OS as an example, would remote into this other computer and log in as a regular standard user. This would limit them, say, to 2 cores, and they can do whatever they want to do in 2 cores. And maybe this would also limit how much memory they can consume as well. I thought it interesting on the heels of the prior 2 articles. How many of us would ever try and do this? I don't know. Maybe Peter would have a greater need for that in his shop. I don't know. Now, this one I thought you might like to notice here up in the upper left corner. A strange word. And this is Microsoft telling you how to download and install Linux on your system. And some people do like to use it. So if you don't want to set up a separate Linux box, which is the most preferred, or the second most preferred, which would be a virtual system like in VirtualBox, VMware, Proxmox, and KVM on Linux, etc., which uses QEMU as its foundation. You can actually, within the Windows environment, instead of doing a dual boot setup, which has headaches, this is loading up Linux to run within Windows. And Bob, as an example, and I did it a long time ago for only a short while, we took Chromebooks and we were using pieces of software that allowed us to run first as dual boot on a Chrome OS system, and then it improved to where you could have both Chrome OS and a Linux distro running simultaneously on the computer, and you could switch back and forth between them. And in a matter of speaking, that's what you're doing here. And I think, and this is my opinion, and I'm not an expert on this, with the WSL2 module that you got to load up in Windows 10 or 11, either it works like an emulator or it works like a virtual environment. Because one thing if you have the pro version of Windows, you have Hyper-V, which is a virtual environment like VirtualBox, VMware, Proxmox, KVM on Linux. And so some of that may be activated with the WSL. And then originally that was command line terminal only. And now in the Microsoft Store, there are 6 distros you can load up to give you a graphical interface with a desktop. And therefore, you could have like a split screen and have Windows on one side and Linux on the other side of the same screen, or you could have a dual monitor setup and have Windows on one monitor and Linux on another monitor. So that was an interesting thing. I thought I would throw it in there because it isn't often most people are even aware how much uh, Microsoft has changed in supporting Linux. They are part of a consortium of developing companies for Linux standards. So you're not going to divorce yourself from Microsoft, even if you're in Linux. The next one is also Microsoft. And this one here I'm just throwing out because I wasn't aware of all the stuff that was here. But this is Microsoft software for Linux. This is resources. Now, for some of this, you have to be a developer. If you're not a developer, this means squat to you. But you have Microsoft Edge, and I'm running in Microsoft Edge on Mint 21. And if you don't believe me, let me shift this over just a hair. If you look up here, that is Copilot. And it works just like it does on Windows 10. Bob?
Yeah. As for what the Windows subsystem for Linux is, it actually is a virtual machine, but it doesn't use all the resources of a fully separate virtual machine. It's more integrated into the operating system.
Yeah, I figured that, but I remember when it was first being talked about, more people thought it was an emulator type thing to allow the code of a Linux system to be translated into the Windows environment and function.
No, it is not an emulator. It does not go through the Windows side system. It does not translate. There's no translation layer.
Okay. Earl? You're muted, Earl.
There you go. On that previous page, uh, the last alternative on how to install Unix was on bare metal. Did you see that?
Yes.
That's what stunned me. Was not, yeah, you have all these Microsoft alternatives of running Linux, but they actually tell you how to create a USB to install
Yes.
Linux on bare metal. And so I asked myself, why are they doing that? And I think I have read that they're trying to go to a software as a service business model in which most everything, let's say,
That's
like Office or something,
that's
and there's
a real possibility starting with Windows 12.
yeah,
But
I think they're going to do that. They
the
don't care what your operating
it's
system
called
is.
Subscription service, just like Microsoft 365, formerly known as Office.
Yeah,
And but the one thing, there's it's very, very sketchy. There's a possibility that Windows may still have, even in 12, a Home and Pro version to install on your system, and a subscription service with the added caveat that there's more and more AI coming into the OSs. It's not very much here in Linux, unless, like on my system here, I'm running Edge browser, and I have Copilot, which is Microsoft AI assistant. And this works in conjunction with Bing AI. So this is a combination tool, and in 10 and in Linux, you get this added feature of AI through the browser only. In Windows 11, it is integrated into the OS. And if you are a Microsoft 365 subscriber, you get Copilot with that as well. So AI is very much here to stay. But I wanted to point out a couple other ones I haven't had time to dig into. But I noticed this one that was very interesting. Install Microsoft Defender for endpoint on Linux. This is to try and create end-to-end encryption. How good it is, I don't know. The little bit I was had time to read up on it, it's not going to be for everybody to set up. It'll be more for the geeky and techie people. Another one that caught my eye down here was Linux software repository for Microsoft products. Microsoft builds and supports a variety of software products for Linux systems and makes them available via Linux packaging clients APT, DNF, Yum, etc., hosted on the Linuxes. So this is, let's put it this way. If we took the West Side CCS meeting, South Suburban meeting, even the Northwest meeting, and the Tips and Tricks SIG meeting, which are primarily Windows oriented, and started putting this information out there, I think a lot of people would be most surprised at how much Microsoft is supporting Linux and wondering why. But I think part of the answer comes from most of the servers for websites are Linux, with Unix being the next most, and probably the least is through Windows. Then you have another rumor, and I want to emphasize the word rumor. There are some people who are thinking that Microsoft wants to use a form of the Linux kernel in Windows. If that happens to be true, my suspicion is it would be Windows 12 or later. But treated strictly as a rumor, it may come to pass, and who knows? It's just a case where, look at IBM. They were very proprietary, much in the same frame as Microsoft and Apple as well. But Apple moved to, it's still proprietary, but they used BSD, which is like a microcomputer Unix operating system. And on the other hand, IBM basically uses Red Hat in a enterprise type environment. So all of a sudden, IBM, I don't think originally embraced Linux for anything, but now their whole business revolves around Linux Enterprise. So it's kind of like an adaptation. You either adapt or you might become obsolete and out of business for whatever you use your computer for, because the others may disappear or transform themselves into something other than what you know them to be right now. So I thought I would toss this stuff in just to give you, some of you that may not be aware of some of this, a real heads up that you can get AI right now through a browser. You can get Chat GTP. You can go to Claude and a hell of a lot of other AI applications right through the browser. But if you install uh, Edge browser, you got it built right into the browser. And I'm not promoting it, but I do use Edge quite a bit. I still use Chrome quite a bit, and I occasionally use Firefox and a few other odds and ends. But it's just one of these things where uh, flexibility, open-mindedness, as far as I'm concerned, are required in a computer environment. There's just, you can't be a horse with blinders on, because that means that you can only see one thing and you have no peripheral vision to see something that might be coming perpendicular right at you. That's like driving a car and you're so focused that they call it tunnel vision, which is the same thing as having on blinders. You can see straight ahead, you can't see what's coming at you, and that's how you end up with a lot of T-bone accidents. So let's move on. Now, I brought this up because I've brought up about AnyDesk before, and as an example, Earl McCoy is here in the group, and couple times now I have hooked up with Earl using AnyDesk on both ends, and I was able to see and do work on his system on his behalf, especially since I set the system up in the first place. But this talks about doing it just to Ubuntu. The problem is Mint, if you're on that, has a great deal of Ubuntu foundations in it. Therefore, it's almost the same thing. So I also provided another article that basically says install AnyDesk on Linux, period. And they will go through somewhat how do you get it, how you deal with it, Debian packages and other packages. Here's one for Red Hat. Now this is for both the RHEL version, CentOS OS, Fedora, and then it also goes down to OpenSUSE, which runs on RPM installations like Red Hat. And you have Linux on other, AnyDesk can probably be put on just about any other one. I haven't tried this yet on Arch, and I haven't even put it on OpenSUSE. I don't use Red Hat, but I do use occasionally OpenSUSE. Instead of using OpenSUSE directly, I use Gecko. Gecko is a polished version of OpenSUSE, kind of like Mint is a polished version of Ubuntu. So whether I can run this on an Arch-based computer system, I haven't had time to experiment with. And the machine that I normally would experiment with died. Well, no, it's in the death throes. Let's put it that way. And I've got to replace the motherboard on it. Some components are not reading and managing memory correctly. All right, moving on. This is for those who want to try and learn and use the Linux terminal more, because it is a efficient way of getting things done. Businesses, most of them use the terminal for the professional people in the business. The desktop people usually use a GUI environment. How to create and remove directories in a Linux terminal. So this is all command line. I don't think it's that draconian. The bad part is if you're trying to remember all the ins and outs of the command line parameters. That takes time, that takes practice. You got to do this a fair amount on a fairly regular basis before you really start learning command line commands other than the simple ones. And you can print stuff like this stuff out. There's other sources of cheat sheets that give you much of the command structure besides the man pages that are in all distributions of Linux. The man pages for the real geeks of Linux is the holy Bible of Linux commands. And some of them years ago that used to flame people for the simplest question, because they thought, well, if you have read the manual, the man pages, you wouldn't probably be asking the question. So they use a acronym to express it, which is classified as flaming the person. And it's putting the person down. And I think that's bad practice, period. But it is a way of expanding your knowledge and use of the command line. I use command line a fair amount because some of the graphical interfaces are not that hot, and a lot of the stuff I do in command line is reasonably simple. I don't have to get into like, I want to format a partition, and all the parameters you got to know and put in to be able to format a partition in Linux. I'd have to look that up every time I wanted to use it. And I'm not joking about that, because I don't format partitions all that often. So that's something to think about. Everybody's got to look up stuff that they don't use very often, and until they use it quite a bit, you're not going to learn what all the commands are, or the ones you will use the most. DISM utility in Windows, I use that heavily, but I only know a certain amount of the commands, and being able to use them in order to be able to get this operation done. Anything else, I got to go looking up information to get something I don't know how to get done, because I don't know the exact parameter or the syntax required in the command. So I also brought up another one here. 6 Linux terminal tips and tricks to get things done quickly. And this wasn't exactly what I thought it would be at first. Benefits of using the Linux terminal: efficiency, universal and lightweight, total control, and they are talking about using the tab auto completion feature and the navigation shortcuts, which are hotkeys or shortcut keys, depending on how you look at it. Searching and running previous commands. I was elated at this years and years ago when I discovered, oh, use the up arrow and down arrow keys, and you can go through all your previous commands, and when you got the command you want, just hit enter, bing. You didn't have to type anything in. You just had to scroll through your command history. Terrific little thing. Also using the terminal multiplexer. Now this I haven't gotten into, but it's something that looks kind of interesting. With a terminal multiplexer, you can run multiple virtual sessions within the same terminal. That's very interesting to me. I wasn't aware of it. So this is something that after I pass away, I'll have enough time to start looking into this. And lastly, creating command line aliases. I knew about this one, but I haven't used it as yet. But basically speaking, some of your command line arguments, if you use them frequently and you don't want to totally memorize all the parameters and they always are the same for what you're doing, you can make up your own name, the alias, and give it the command line specifically. And anytime you type in a terminal, that alias name, it executes your command exactly the way you would if you type the whole command in. So it gives you some potential horsepower for creating your own frequently used commands so that it's much easier to get things done on your system. So this one is got two things in it, number 4 and number 5. I hadn't known about the multiplexer, but on the aliases, I only learned about this during the summer at the APCUG Linux workshop. And it sounds very interesting. All I got to do is drop dead and I'll have plenty of time to learn this stuff. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll get to it. I might get to some of it, I hope, next month. It looks like half the month we'll be able to do something. Earl?
The acronym you mentioned was RTFM. And of course, it was meant to scorch you for sure. But as far as I know, that was used at Bell Labs. And if you worked for Bell Labs as a member of technical staff, the culture was you better minimize the questions you ask of your colleagues.
Yes.
You were expected to figure it out
That's right.
on your own.
That's why in the early days of Linux, a lot of newbies were interested, started to ask questions on forums, and these other people, like you're describing, would say RTFM,
Yeah,
read the fucking manual.
yeah,
And bottom line, they were flaming the newbies for not doing their own research first before
exactly.
asking the question.
And
But
it was not only using the computer, when you got employed there and you came to work that first day and the second day, they wouldn't tell you anything. You didn't know where the men's room was. You didn't know how to, in my era, you had a dumb terminal and it wasn't hooked up, it wasn't configured. And man, you better figure it out yourself.
yeah, but these days, most people on computers, uh,
That's right. It's not.
they want the computers of the 24th or 5th century.
Yeah, that's right. I will
And,
say too concerning aliases. I use it a couple of them. If you download YouTube videos, for example, there's a program, command line program called YouTube-DL for download, and you can have arguments that stipulate the resolution of the video and the sampling rate on the audio. And so you had to type, for example, -F399 for AV1 1080p video, plus, say, 251, which was the 48 kilo sampling rate using Opus. Well, I didn't want to type that every time. So I created an alias, just, DLV and all of that. And so I could download a video from YouTube very, very simply. It's great.
there's one thing about this alias. There's two ways of doing it. Uh, if you modify the bash RC file, there's one little problem. When you do some of the normal updating of your Linux, you get a new bash RC file. Therefore, the aliases you put into it get clobbered or erased, however you want to look at it. So what I learned from the APCUG group is you create a sub file to put your aliases in, and you only modify the bash RC file to point to that file that you created of your aliases. So when the bash RC file gets replaced, all you have to do is go in, edit it, point to that other file of alias commands, and execution will be immediate as soon as you close the bash RC file. You'll be able to start using your bash aliases as though they were already still there after that update. So you have to watch what you're doing. If you put it directly into the bash RC file, they may disappear. If you're only talking one or two commands and you've got them written down somewhere, it might not be a big deal to go manually put them back in the bash RC file when it gets changed. But if you have a list of several alias commands, put them in a separate file, put one entry in the bash RC file, and they will execute without any real serious editing involved. The other thing that is in here, getting command line help, and this tells you some of the utilities of how to get help information. Now, mind you, this is brief information from the man pages that it's providing. It doesn't go into depth. If you're looking for some esoteric features of some commands, this won't help you. You will have to go into the man pages or go out on the internet and do some research there. So it's a case of there's some nice tips here, and I'm seeing I've used the autocomplete command before. I've used the navigation shortcuts to some degree, not probably as much as I should. The number 3, I've been using that for a number of years. Also, using the terminal multiplexer and the aliases. Those are 2 things I want to start getting into deeper. And the command line help, I've used it to some extent. It's just a little too limited in many instances. So you have for comprehensive reference, like it says here in the last line, use the man command to be able to go find all the details of each command and its subcomponents to do the operation you want to do in one command line. Now, this was also a little bit interesting. There are a lot of people who are very paranoid on privacy, and when you're using the internet, it's the same as using the interstate highway system and U.S. highway system in the United States. It just isn't a private road. You didn't build it yourself going from point A to point B, and nobody else but you can use it. So these are some ideas of secure operating systems for privacy. Tails, I've used Tails some myself. There's pluses and minuses to everything. I don't care what it is. I've never seen something that's all pro and no con, or all con and no pro. It's a mixed thing. They give you some pros and cons to each one of these. Cubes OS, I've heard of. I never got into it myself, but it does a lot of the security through virtualization. So basically, Cubes is a OS that runs virtual environments for you. And if your virtual environment gets clobbered, it doesn't take down your whole system, is basically what it amounts to. But steeper learning curve and requires powerful hardware is a mandatory. So you got to have some of the more expensive computers to get Cubes to run in a satisfactory fashion for whatever it is you're doing, so that it has enough memory and CPU horsepower, fast storage, etc. And you're going to have to learn a whole lot of extra environment above and beyond, shall we say, the basics of Linux itself. Now this one I didn't know about. Whonix, key feature developed by the Tor project which makes the Tor browser. Uh, it routes all internet traffic through the Tor network, which you're bouncing around all over the place, mostly in Europe and places that are nearby Europe. And it causes some degradation, just like in Tails, which is doing somewhat the same thing, because they use the Tor browser in a Tor network environment. So you have strong focus on privacy and isolates the user from the host system. Cons: limited to virtual machine usage and can be a resource intensive situation. So again, you got to have, for some of these, high end. Tails does not require high end. Linux Mint with Cinnamon Desktop. I found that a big surprise. I wasn't expecting this. Key features of Linux Mint is known for its user friendliness. When combined with the Cinnamon Desktop environment, it offers a smooth experience. It provides access to a wide range of Linux software. Pros: familiar desktop environment and extensive software ecosystem. Con: doesn't focus exclusively on privacy and less anonymity compared to the Tor-based distributions. But then you don't need a supercomputer to run those other environments. And the last one I got on this article, and there are some other similar articles that may have one or two different OSs, called Pure OS, developed by Purism. It's built with a focus on privacy and security. It comes pre-installed on Purism Librem laptops. Pro ships by default on privacy respecting hardware and uses the GNOME desktop environment with privacy focused defaults. Cons: limited software ecosystem and the user interface may not be as polished as some alternatives. So they give a little bit of a summary here, which I won't go into. I'll let you guys read it. But if you're looking for privacy, and I would say not as your primary system, this would be a secondary or trinary computer system, you might want to look at one of these. I have Tails runs off a flash drive. So basically, you can plug this thing into nearly anything to a USB port. You boot your computer up to the flash drive, and you're running strictly from the flash drive in memory, and get all the stuff you want done. But like some of these privacy ones, your plethora of Linux programs that you find in most distributions, either through Synaptics or the software manager in the distro, just isn't there. So you're very limited. And in some cases, I liken these specialty versions to that of using a Chrome OS laptop or the Chrome box. And it's for lightweight work, generally speaking, mostly browsing. But now for Chrome OS, if you got a up to date and current, you can run MS365 on it if you want to. So you have access to the cloud. You can do all your documentation. You can collaborate with other co-workers, things like that through a simple Chromebook. So lots of things are really ramping up, and you don't always have to have the high-end stuff, but sometimes you use it for certain things you want to do, and have your main system a full system that you can get just about anything done on. And how to run Android apps on Linux. Chrome OS added Android apps a long time ago, and was in the last several years they added Linux apps can be run on Chrome OS if you activate it. So this is giving you, they're basically anybody who's running Android on a computer is basically running a form of emulator in most instances. I know Microsoft was working very hard, and I don't know if they ever succeeded because I wasn't following it, trying to integrate a almost emulation less interface within Windows to be able to run Android applications. How successful they were, I don't know. I have never pursued it. But there are a lot of people, hey, if they got an Android phone, they want to run Android apps, well, they might want to run them on your laptops or desktops. Bob?
There are two things you can do in Windows. Starting with the fall update 23H2, the Android subsystem is going to be present.
Well,
So you will be able to do that if you activate it.
I've only got two systems right now that have the 23H2, and all my other Windows 11 systems do not have it yet, and I don't know exactly why.
No, they won't have it. It's coming in the fall release, and it may be rolled out slowly to different users. The other thing you can do in Windows is there is a My Phone app, and there is another sharing app for your Android phone where you can run the applications that are on your phone,
Yeah,
as well as share the data.
right. That feature has been there, but they were attempting, and I don't know if they dropped it or ever succeeded. Microsoft was trying to make it part of Windows, where you would have like the Google Play Store and load up your Android apps there on Windows and run them like a regular Windows progressive app.
Yes, although they use the Amazon store, not the Google store.
Well, it was originally for the Amazon, but it was very limited on what was going on. And I know there were some hacking being done to get the Play Store to play nice on this idea. But again, I didn't follow up on this to find out where Microsoft stands on that whole concept.
Microsoft does not approve of installing the Play Store, but you can always sideload different stores.
Yeah, and basically it's a case where with Microsoft, they have kind of like a business agreement with Amazon to use their Android apps, and their Microsoft and Google lots and lots of time just do not play nice with it one another. Once in a while, they do pretty good, but boy, there's a lot of antagonism there between the two. So this is something some of you might be interested in. This is trying to run the Android apps on Linux, but it looks like you have to have this open source compatibility layer added into your Linux distro. I don't know that I didn't have time to read as to whether it was like an emulator or it just acts as a high-speed interpreter of the Android commands and execute directly into Linux. So if you're looking at, if you're an Android user in particular and you want to run Android apps on Windows or Linux, there are ways of probably getting the job done. The next thing I have here is how to enable the do not disturb mode in Ubuntu. And I don't know if this is available in Mint, but it might be, since much of Mint is based upon Ubuntu, as long as you're not running the LMDE version. And but you can also go here, how to use do not disturb mode in Ubuntu so that you can focus on work. Gives you another way of seeing and doing basically the same thing. I don't even use do not disturb in Windows. I look at it this way. I don't like most of the notifications. They are both distracting, and probably 50% of notifications are junk. And like, who cares about this particular issue that it brings up? So I usually on Windows turn off notifications, and I'm inclined to do that on Linux as well. And if I was still on my Macs, I'd be doing it there as well. I find notifications to be a royal pain. I don't like some websites that want you to turn on notifications so they can let you know when there's some kind of a special deal or some kind of new feature, update, etc., etc. And I say, no, thank you. So that's a personal preference. It's kind of a case where you gotta do your own thing. The last thing I have here gets back to what Earl was starting to bring up, and that's here's 5 best Linux YouTube channels every user, a Linux user, should follow. Now, I started going through this a little bit and very briefly. This is a DistroTube. They talk about various distros, what they like, don't like, and so on and so forth. Jupiter Broadcasting, I used to listen to that some, but I got away from that a long time ago, and I don't exactly remember why, but I probably didn't have enough time to mess with it, and I wasn't as deep into Linux at the time. Here's one called Free Code Camp. If you're into programming in Linux, this one might be one to look into and at to pick up lots of tips, tricks, etc. Or even how to. Wolfgang's channel. Wolfgang's channel is a bit more clickbaity, with thumbnail images usually featuring the creator's face, bold, colorful lettering, and provocative titles, such as "Why I Switched to Mac as a Linux User," and why I use a paid terminal font, and so on and so forth. Then you have Learn Linux TV. Learn Linux TV does exactly what it says on this on the tin. I don't understand what that is, but anyway, it's a channel dedicated to helping you learn Linux through regular releases and explains topics newcomers will want to see. So hopefully he's doing a better job than me. There are other channels you might want to look into. So I did a little search on my own. I went to Linux, to YouTube, sorry. And in the search line, I put in Linux channels, and I wanted to see what would pop up. And I got a plethora of channels besides these 5 that this person considered to be the best 5 out there. And why this is going so slow, I'm not sure. But you got the Linux channel. You got Learn Linux TV, which was in that list. 3 types of YouTubers I can't watch. So this guy's going to give you 3 types of YouTubers out there on Linux that he avoids. Stop buying Android TV boxes. I don't know why I didn't get into it. Then now, if he's saying infected, I'll go along with that because most Android devices do not get updates to the operating system and security features they need like Apple products do. And some Android devices, you're lucky you get support for 1 year. Others might go up to 3 years, but I have not heard outside of maybe Google Pixel phones going beyond 3 years on Android. Whereas with iPhone, you get 5 to 6 years of constant updates and patches. So they give you a more secure environment. Deserve wait a minute. The deserved downfall of Linus's tech tips. Ain't sure what that one's about. That might be worth just checking out what he's talking about. Open source alternatives to the most popular productivity apps, and that I think might be worth looking into, depending on what they are. If they're pushing things like Adobe, which is online subscription, thank you, but no thank you. I'll find some other way of getting things done. It may not be the most productive in comparison, but also I'm not doling out a lot of money either. We are probably why we probably won't make a Linux channel. So these are 2 guys that are doing some kind of presentation, and basically speaking, why they would not create a Linux channel for people to watch and subscribe to. Then you have distros we need to talk. Not sure how to treat that one. This was the first one in that previous article, distro 2. So I'd have to look into that one when I get a chance. The biggest Linux myth. You got 50 most popular Linux terminal commands. Full course for beginners. So if you really want to get into learning some of the command line features. This might be one of the YouTube channels you want to go into. Now, note they usually give you how long ago these things were done. This is done 2 years ago, and most everything they'll tell you works today as much as it did 2 years ago, and probably even before 2 years ago, because a lot of things may have an old date on them. So what? I'm learning Caden Live video editor right now. This videos, if I remember correctly, are at least 5 years old, but they still work right now in teaching me how to use the Caden Live. So who cares whether this was made 2 days ago or 5 years ago in many instances? This is true of a lot of articles as well. And this includes in Windows, Mac OS, and in Linux as well. I find lots of articles that may be very old and they work just as good today as they did when the article was first created. Peter.
Okay, so there's one place I go, and it's Linux for Seniors. And they have a whole series on
Do you fit
Linux
in?
Mint 21.1.
Do you fit in?
What?
Do you fit in?
I think I'm a senior.
So you think you
I've
fit
crossed
in?
the
So you think you fit in?
5-year-old barrier.
It's
The thing is they go, okay, so let me explain this.
go ahead.
They explain things very slowly and accurately,
Unlike me.
which is good for the people in this forum.
That's fine. No, it's just like Tech for Seniors. They limit the amount of time to 1 hour presentation and a 20-minute Q&A. And if you want to, you got a 30-minute meetup before the meeting starts. And they go through quite a bit of stuff. It's very professional looking presentation. Here's another one on here that's YouTube channel was deleted. And I assume from this, somebody must have died. But Chris Travolta's, I know, isn't dead. He has a lot of stuff on Linux, and he does a pretty darn good job of covering a lot of good topical information. So I gotta check this one out. Maybe he knows that other person, and he's given like a eulogy to that person. So there's tons and tons of stuff, and if you know, I think it's Farsi. You got one here. It looks like if you know how to read it. That leaves me out. Oh, forget about other antennas. Watch the channels in the world with one antenna. Actually, Peter, this one might be for you, especially since you got multiple buildings distant apart. How to make focused antennas to do a better job of Wi-Fi. Go ahead, Peter.
That's Earl's up there. So
That's okay.
the antennas, I'm up a hill here and I'm blocked from line of sight from my other site with some other mountains and a lot of iron.
Okay. Well,
There's a lot of iron in the mountains here. I think there's only like 5 FM radio stations that work on the islands.
well,
And you can't go to the other islands
You got to do
For,
the Western United States. There's a lot of ham operators that on top of the peaks put in shacks with equipment. They monitor remotely and control remotely to keep communications, whether it's internet or ham radio, going.
the problem is every top of the mountain here is government controlled or indigenous people controlled. And they don't like you at all to go up there.
Boy, oh
You can
boy.
go to the park here. You can go to Haleakala Park and see the crater, but you can hike down into the crater, but you don't bring anything with you that remotely looks like a permanent installation.
Well, that's unfortunate. Oh, hey, I missed something here I didn't see before. Sorry about that. We got another person.
Earl, yeah.
No, we got another person.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Earl.
Uh, I watched some of those, and there are so many of them,
Yeah.
and they're pretty good. But one I particularly like is called Explaining Computers, done by this British guy. It's not exclusively Linux. He does Windows as well, but he does a particularly nice job, I think. And so every Sunday morning, I'll watch his channel. It's very good.
If that's the person I'm thinking of, I've seen many of his videos before, and if it's the same guy, he does a pretty darn good job.
Yes, he does.
I think it's called ECS.
Uh, well, what I'm thinking of is called Explaining Computers.
Yeah, I
Computers,
think
yeah.
it's ECS is the acronym.
Oh, I suppose it is.
Yeah, he if it is the ECS, he does a great job of explaining things, and that's
I
not a
can't
joke.
remember his name. It's Chris something or other.
I don't remember a lot of names. I usually forget my name because I don't talk to myself formally.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth.
All right. Uh, Linux for seniors. I don't see that one listed
That-
offhand.
That's good. I enjoy that too.
Let's see if we can find it. Linux for seniors. Old fogies only. And here's some of past presentations that he's done. So it looks like, unless I'm mistaken, he's only been doing this about a year. At least I didn't see anything more than about 9 months ago. No, 10 months. So it's been just under uh, a year that he's been creating these videos. That might be worth a look. Okay, now that's the majority of what I've got. I'm gonna attempt to share, and this is via Linux. I may have to even do this via my Windows system. We'll see. I've had troubles in the past sharing. Stop that. And hello, Bob Baxter.
My apologies for joining everybody late. Thanks for letting me in.
Well, I almost didn't see it pop up here. So I don't know how long you were waiting. Sorry about that.
Not long.
Let's see if I can get this to work. You darn dummy. Linux does it different than Windows environment, and I don't know if I ever did Zoom on the Mac, and my Macs are pretty old. There we go. Okay. You should have my file of articles. So you can go through them, and when the video gets posted, you can look at the what you missed out of the meeting. But there's some interesting articles that we went through at tonight's meeting. Does anybody else have any thing they in the way of problems or questions they need to bring up? Because we're just about normal end of meeting. Okay, Earl.
I just wanted to say I'm going to sign off now. I enjoyed our conversation a lot. I'll see you in January then for the next SIG.
Well, that or we leave you out. One of the two.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. So the rest of you have no problems, questions?
My machine had pretty much behaved itself today.
Well, except
That
for
one little
hiccup.
section
Except for one
where
hiccup.
the network went down.
Well, Bob, and I don't think I think Jeff was hearing it for the sales holiday. We were asking at the beginning of the meeting if anybody got anything. I got a deal on Macron Reflect that Bob Premick brought up to the CCS. I also purchased by attending a Tech for Seniors meeting on last Monday, and in the meetup, somebody mentioned a special on shock skull headsets going for $98. I bought them, and I've got this little tiny headset, and it works pretty good. But I only got one desktop with Bluetooth right now. I gotta change that, and a Best Buy came out on Friday with the same skull headset for 90. Whether it's still available or not, I don't know. So those are some of the things. And for Bob showing up late, basically speaking, December's Linux group would meet on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And for the most part, there's only a few that would think about the possibility of showing up in that. So we're going to scrub the Linux SIG in December. The next meeting will be in January, I think on the 23rd, I think I said. So next
Thanks for the
month,
update.
next month we'll have the West Side meeting, tips and tricks. I think we'll have South Suburban, which is on the 21st. But Northwest never has a December meeting. And like I say, we'll scrub the Lennox group also. So we'll only have 3 meetings next month to bandy about and let everybody know what we're getting in January for Christmas. Anybody got anything else?
I do have one
I'm
question.
good.
Okay, I do have one question there. Is you mentioned, Tim, that you got the bone conduction headphones, and I'm kind of curious, how comfortable are they?
I find it quite comfortable. I don't have a problem. See, these are it's hard to see, but you're not in the ear. This is a kind of a lightweight, flexible steel, I'm sure, and all this does is sit over your ears, and that's it. So your ears are unimpeded. There's nothing to stick in your ear, and I met one person one time that cannot use earbuds of any kind. It hurts the hell out of his ears. And these, there's nothing. It's just here on the outside. You can hear it quite clearly unless you're in a very noisy environment, and it has built-in microphone,
So you can
Yeah.
use it with a phone.
and this is all Bluetooth.
As far as earbuds go, I can't wear them either. Anything inside the ear, forget it.
Yeah,
Even
and
earplugs.
when we were had in-person meetings at Southside, I met one person one time years ago, and he couldn't handle them at all. So that was the first person I met that couldn't deal with them. I don't know what you do if you need the hearing aids, unless you use the old outside ones that are behind the ear. And even then, you have a little tube with the microphone going into the ear. So I don't know what you do with that. But the modern ones, they're little tiny itty bitty pieces that go in the ear canal, and that's it.
If they're fitted properly, they probably would work on almost anyone.
Well, but they're making them generic. The properly fitted ones are the ones that cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, but for some of us, that's absolutely necessary because they're the only ones we can use.
Right. So it's one of those things. But these are, I've watched the Caden Live YouTube videos for several hours at a time. No problem whatsoever. And you get a little USB cable. You can plug it into your computer at any time in a USB port. And this end here is for going on the headset. It's just like Apple Mac ProBooks. They had MagSafe. And so what there is a magnet here that holds this cable in to the headset. And if you accidentally forget you got it connected up and charging, that's okay. As soon as you pull away, the magnet gives, and it does no damage to either the cable or your device. So it's quite nice in that respect. So you get, the funny part about it was with Best Buy's deal, they wanted $98. And if you, this was on Monday when I ordered it, and somebody said they think it's a 1 day sale. And I don't know if that's true or not. And if you wanted it delivered on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, you had to pay $20 extra. If you were willing to wait for Friday or Saturday delivery, it was free. I took the free option. Uh, I didn't want to spend the extra $20 for starters, and I wasn't in that big of a hurry. But on Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, excuse me, there was the package on my front porch. So I got free delivery for something that would have cost somebody $20 to get delivered on Wednesday. Go figure. So sometimes it behooves you not to say I need it immediately. I guess is the best way to look at it. Save some money too.
Immediately for me costs 3 digits.
So I don't know. I find the only thing I got to do right now, I got two options. I've got some machines where I can add Wi-Fi into them, much like is in a laptop, and I upgrade my Wi-Fi on my laptops anyhow. Uh, and that would add in Bluetooth, and that's what the only desktop system I've got right now is got the Wi-Fi built in when I bought it, and so to use those that headset for the first time, I had to use that system to watch the YouTube videos, and it works like a champ, no problem whatsoever. Uh, but another option is on desktop type units. They make a USB dongle. They cost $2 or $3 a piece, and some might give you a little bit of discount if you order multiple of them. And I can get them on eBay. And I was thinking about 5 of them, and it would cost about $12. That's with tax too, because I think they said it ships free for the price. So what the heck? One little envelope, 5 dongles, plug it into 5 machines, you got the Bluetooth without the Wi-Fi.
That's a pretty good deal.
Not bad. It depends on the computer. See, some of my desktops, you would have to get a card to plug into the motherboard to get Wi-Fi. I do have one here. It has Wi-Fi built into the motherboard, but does not include Bluetooth. But I've got these small 7-inch machines that I showed before. You can buy them with the Wi-Fi built in already. All it is a card, just like you'd find in a laptop, and an antenna to the outside. Either this little added notch here in plastic contains an antenna, or like the one I have with Bluetooth has an actual 4-inch antenna that is adjustable. And the Bluetooth is on the Wi-Fi card. So if I either have or buy Wi-Fi cards for my other 7-inch machines, I can add Wi-Fi. And one thing I didn't like that one that is Wi-Fi in the notch. And the one machine that has the Wi-Fi uses that antenna, and I couldn't find where you could get the adapter, and I don't think you can make this out very good. Boy, trying to break into this bag is next to impossible. Anyway, what this is here, there's a little knockout on the back. You'd knock out the little knockout. There's a nut and washer on here, This is a brass fitting that would stick out the back. This is the cable going in. You would need an extension cable to go from the end of this here to your Wi-Fi card, because the motherboard is just like a laptop board. And then you screw on an antenna that could be anywhere between, I'll say 3.5 inches to about 8 inches in length, with different dB ratings. And the higher the dB number, the stronger it can pull in weak signals. I know, because I remember one time on a Sunday, my internet was out. I went to the local library, which was closed, but they leave their Wi-Fi on. So out in the parking lot, I had a laptop. I had a external with a 7-inch antenna, and it worked just as if I was inside the library. So it's quite doable. It's in my forte. But there are some systems like the one that has Wi-Fi. I'd have to get that $2 or $3 dongle, plug it in to one of the back ports, because I don't use all the back ports anyhow. And I've got Bluetooth. And then for other ones, I've got a SFF machine. I can add Wi-Fi to that. Not a big deal. And I can get it two different ways. One way uses the same card a laptop uses. You just plug it in. It's a separate item that you would purchase. And other ones, you have a whole working card. You just plug the card in and that's it. Then you have 1 or 2 antennas out the back of your computer. The only thing I don't like about using the Wi-Fi on video conferencing is too often there's interference and fluctuation of the radio waves that might cause problems with the quality of the connection. And that if you're the host, that's a problem. If you're just a attendee, maybe that's not a big deal, especially if you can get to see the video at a later time. Okay, does anybody else have anything else they want to try and cover? If not, then hopefully we'll see you in January for the Linux group, and maybe we'll see some of you at the other CCS meetings in December and January.
Yep.
Yep. See you there.
From us.
Sounds good.
All right.
Aloha here.
Okay. Then we're going to end the meeting, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good Christmas and a Happy New Year.